know and just throw the peace, I tell them good vibes only, yeah. They were hating, but we didn't even notice, cause we're on them good vibes only.
Greetings and welcome back to Vibe Talks. For all those who had recently subscribed to my channel and watched my video, thank you so much for your support. My name is Jessica Johnson from Western Michigan, your guide and teacher, by providing lessons to further expand and revolutionize your soul to greater understanding of the seen and not seen, of the world around us, and even within you. Today we're going to be discussing a long-awaited subject where we are going to learn about the structure of your light body, which is your soul. Everyone most certainly has one, as it is the core of you in this vast ocean of existence. A few months ago, I spoke about the structure of your auric field and then the many layers and how it affects you physically, emotionally, energetically, and spiritually. And if you didn't get a chance to watch that, please go to the videos on my channel and take a look. So allow me to ask you a question. How would you imagine your soul to look like? Do you think it looks like what you physically look like now? What would you think about how it functions or even how it operates? Or have you put much thought into any of it before now? I would assume that many hadn't, yet I would also assume what brought you to watch this video was your curiosity or your persistent nudging of your spirit guides. You see, part of ascending our consciousness is learning. It's experiencing. It's understanding ourselves in a deep, profound manner. It's how we spiritually evolve and mature. And looking deeper within ourselves, we find that there is more to us than we even realize, which fades away any limitations that we feel that held us back. Awareness, knowledge is how we elevate ourselves to a whole nother level. First, we become students and evolve in ourselves to become teachers, harnessing the wisdom of the universe and in turn understanding ourselves in a deeper way, understanding our role that we play in this reality as we journey through it. The light body, your light body, is the entire soulful system known to all of us as the soul. In yoga teaching, it's called the Atman. Know it or not, we are made up of energy, whether it's dense energy such as our soul, such as our physical body, or even our higher energetic body, which is our soul and our auric field. Energy is all around us. And when we leave our physical body, our soul, our energetic consciousness rises up out from our crown chakra. So I guess the question would be, does our soul have any weight mass? Does our soul have any weight being inside of us? If so, how much exactly would it weigh? Well, according to the McDougall experiment, which was published in the scientific journals in 1907, that our soul does indeed have weight mass. McDougall was a physician from Harvard Hill, Massachusetts, who attempted to measure the mass lost by a human when the soul departs from the body. He did this by measuring the change by 6 patients at the moment of their death. And according to his findings, our soul weighs approximately 21 grams. So no matter whether you could physically see our soul or your soul, it does have weight mass and it does exist. Even though McDougall's findings has been long disputed, scientists now are starting to look further into this by trying to catch video footage of a soul when it leaves the physical vessel. And no matter how many humans incarnate lives you live or where you experience your said lives, your soul journeys through one animated body after another. It's as if it dresses up to walk that reality you incarnate in. And no matter where your belief systems are, this is the core of who you are. Our soul, our consciousness, is of our light body. Our light body, our soul, is eternal and has lived many incarnate lives. So, what is the structure of the light body? Does it have any components, or is it just one thing, a soul? That's it. Well, I'm here to tell you that the light body, or rather your soul, has exactly 5 components, which I will be discussing further to what those are and what they consist of. The 5 components are your soul fragment, the higher self, the divine line, the conscious awareness, and of course, the portals to other dimensions. I know this can seem like overwhelming and to even think about it. But don't stress out. I will wind up breaking it down and I will discuss each one in detail. And if anything, you can always rewatch this video to fully understand this lesson. So first, let's understand the light body is our soul, which is considered whole and eternal. Our light body exists at a very high frequency and is a creative unit among the sea of creation elements. It's better to understand that all souls are equate to droplets within the sea of bliss, as it's an infinite number of droplets that composes the sea of bliss, which is another name for God. So to begin to break it all down, let's start with the first component to the soul, which is the higher self. The higher soul, or the higher self, is a portion of the light body that is like the brain, or rather the central consciousness of who you are. All the memories of the soul had ever experienced in any past incarnate lives, it's a recall of your past life as we thumb through our personal bookshelf. Our higher self is like the main librarian custodian. The person is you who maintains your library. The higher self steps back and away from the bookshelf and examines all the stories it has played. It knows that all the experiences, because it had experienced all the books, it can remember, it can feel all the lifetimes as it understands the vastness of its own creation story. And when you have a past life regression, the practitioner guides you through hypnosis to connect you to your higher self as you thumb through the stories of your experiences, where you see and where you feel the stories of your soul's past. Your higher self is an individualized unit of divine source, known to many as God. And in order to broaden its experience, the divine source decided to subdivide. This, my beautiful souls, was the beginning of creation, where a higher self, or rather an individualized element of divine source, was born. And now, with that said, it's better to understand that there are 2 elements to this. One is the beginning of the relationship where your higher self had rested with the divine source, and where divine source had continued the creational process. Subdivisions, like a cell going through a regenerated process, that created more individualized pieces of you. This means each higher self had participated in different creational stories at various dimensions. Many fragments of yourself experienced and lived in many other dimensions and worlds, including this one. And with each story we write in the lives of our higher self, further evolves us. The higher self can be visualized like a droplet within the ocean. So imagine divine source, known as God to many, as the ocean of bliss you're very much a part of. And each higher self, or rather soul, is a droplet, a cell of consciousness within a whole. And each higher self is nested in divine source consciousness, known as the collective consciousness. Divine source is a conscious of all higher selves within. Divine source is aware of all the creational stories across many dimensions over many eons of time and no time. As the creation process had continued, each higher self had further divided, created lineages and different expressions of itself. And at the level of the higher self, a fragment could be separated to explore lives in many different dimensions. The dimensions I speak of is like the astral worlds and planes, the dimensions of the physical one, like this one, and the dimensions of light and consciousness. Within these types of dimensions, there are still more subdivisions where the higher self is vast and desires to grow and explore. I know it's a lot to take in, so if it's easier, just imagine this. Imagine one cell, and from that cell, it further vibrates and divides itself, multiplying itself throughout your whole physical body. The higher self of you, in a soul level, pretty much does the same. Believe it or not, each of us can connect with and channel your higher self, where your higher self can give information about your own personal journey. Your higher self is your connection point to the divine source. And through the higher self, you can draw in prana, which is divine energy. Just like that. It draws energy into your physical body, which can heal you. Your higher self knows your life purpose and your potential life path. And the vastness of your soul's history is stored in your higher self. In this understanding, your higher self, it's to give you the ability to comprehend your higher nature, that you will be able to appreciate and who you really are beyond your human expression that is playing out in this lifetime. Connecting with your higher self in meditation is much different than connecting with one's angelic guardian or even their spirit guides. The higher self is connected with the highest dimensions of light and is part of every way to your light body. Angelic, or rather known as the Elohim, they reside in the fifth dimension or even higher, which is connected to the astral energetic body. One's guides are astral, and they come from the light realms as they are watching you. They're watching you as their candidate. You are their candidate, which spirit guides had decided to take an interest in you. They had wanted to groom you for your own higher purpose. Deciding to or receiving guidance from your higher self and wanting to receive guidance from an angelic Elohim is a matter of your choice and the spiritual path that you wish to travel. Both the higher self and the Elohim guides, they wind up working in the same direction in assisting you and keeping you in track towards your life purpose that you came here and incarnated for. Your spirit guides are very much available, and often they send signs to let you know that they are with you. The higher self is deep within you, within me, and it can be channeled in a way of spiritual hypnosis. I hope that the first component to knowing about your soul gave you a better understanding of who you are. So now let's dive into the second component, to your soul, which the second component is your soul fragment. The soul fragment refers to the portion of the light body that is in and around the human form. The reason it's called a soul fragment is because the soul is considered whole and resting in the divine source. As we previously discussed when talking about the higher self, understand this. In order to have an experience in the physical reality, a soul has to detach a piece of itself and fragment itself. A soul fragment takes resonance in a physical form, which is as you live and breathe now. And it is you, a soul fragment of your higher self. Your physical body is animated through the womb of your mother with a soul fragment which allows life to emerge. It is allowed to experience through the five senses and sensual love of the human form. As discussed before, the higher self can have many soul fragments existing in many different dimensions. So when a soul fragment is born into the new physical incarnation, it has amnesia, which is why you can't remember any of your creational stories of your higher self, nor any of your past experiences. The reason is simple. It's so you, as a soul fragment, can have a real, authentic experience, which is of your life in the here and now. You see, the light body is an aspect of ourselves that is just light. The light body has a higher frequency of vibration than the astral body holds form, and the personality in the astral realms. The angels experience reality and wind up having relationships despite what you read on the internet. So the light body is in itself is without personality. It's just energy and light. It expands and encompasses a higher state of consciousness. The light body winds up merging with the divine source, and the experience is oneness. Even the light realms, the angels and the ascended masters that wind up meditating, to wind up releasing from their angelic form and move into higher states of consciousness. Even they fragment themselves. So a soul fragment, it winds up merging with its higher self, and then it winds up expanding into the divine source. One then becomes the ocean of bliss. This resting in the divine source, it winds up restoring and renews the physical form. Meditation allows for one to expand the light body, and in order to become one with the cosmic ocean. Now that we have wind up covering both of the components, what do you think? Does it give you better understanding in the different aspects of yourself, which is your soul? So I guess the question is, so being that the first component is the higher self, and the second component is the soul fragment, what's the third? Well, the third component is the divine line, which is every part of your light body, which is every part of your soul. The divine line is basically a thick channel that winds up surrounding the entire energy body. You see, the divine line winds up surrounding the outer auric field of the body, and it winds up reaching up and holds the higher chakras along with the ascending chakras. The divine line and the center line connects to the higher self. Now, do you know what the divine line is really called? Well, the divine line is called the silver cord. And in many other metaphysical terminology, I'm sure it was a familiar word to you. That the divine line is most certainly the silver cord. You see, there's a difference between the divine line and the center line. The center line is part of the energetic body as it runs through the center of all 7 primary chakras. This is why when we wind up aligning one's chakra system, the center line from time to time becomes kinked. And when we go through the chakras, it can make them off balance and out of line. The center line must become straightened out before one is to be able to successfully balance all 7 chakras and the ascending chakras, which is way up there. It is basically like a thin channel that is inside your energetic body system. So, however, since we now understand what the center line is, the divine line is much different. It's like a thick channel that surrounds the outside of your energetic body system. If you can imagine, the divine line winds up expanding, allowing more energy to flow. Once you become conscious of these type of connections, these channels wind up activating, which allows you to feel connected to your higher self. Prana, divine energy, which flows within and around the divine line. The divine line is bright. It's like a bright white light that appears like a white sheath that surrounds and coats the entire system. The divine line is the 5th layer of the auric field, which, to learn more about the different components of the auric field, I urge you to wind up watching my last video that I produced when discussing the components and layers of the auric field. So, with this divine line that surrounds your energetic embodiment and is in the 5th layer of your auric field, extends down in every part of your internal grounding cord. So allow me to ask, what is consciousness? What does it mean to you? As you think about your interpretation of what consciousness means, what it means to you, allow me to share what I know and understand with you. Perhaps it will further expand in what you interpret what consciousness is. You see, the consciousness is also a part of your soul. It's also a part of your light body, your soul. It's just like the center line and the divine line. It's also the fourth component to your light body. It's basically the spark of light. It is your awareness. Understand this. Your consciousness winds up moving and changes its location based on your intention of thought. For example, it could be placed at the third chakra, which is your solar plex, the chakra that connects to the individuality of self, where the ego winds up thriving in most cases. As it can also be placed in the seventh chakra, which is your crown chakra, which is the connection to divine and higher knowledge and spirituality. It could be even higher, up to dimensional consciousness, where it can be placed in the ascending chakras. The consciousness can also be placed in the present moment of one's activities. However, in contrast, other elements in the energetic body and the light body are all stationary. An example would be if the placement was in the third chakra, the solar plexus. It's stationary to the energetic body, where conscious awareness, on the other hand, moves. Our light body winds up expanding into like a vast light space. And the space is so large and expansive that it's beyond your imagination. Consciousness can be thought of like expansive, or the consciousness can be also pinpointed. If we are directing our intention or even our thought, then consciousness has an aim and it has a target and it has a focus. So let's try something. I want you to visualize your consciousness like a spark of light. And within this spark of light, it can be placed at the base of your spine, and it can activate your grounding. So I want you to close your eyes and visualize that spark of light and place it to the base of your spine, which would be your grounding cord, your root chakra. Breathe in, breathe out. Visualize and place it in the base of your spine. Now, I want you to take that spark of light and I want you to focus it in the heart chakra. I want you to have the intention into having that spark of light go into the heart chakra. Breathe in, breathe out. Now visualize that spark of light in your heart chakra. Now I want you to expand that light into your heart chakra. I also want you to do one more thing. I want you to visualize that spark of light that can basically travel down your center line, the center line that I told you about that connects to all 7 primary chakras. Now, I want you to try to visualize it moving as you inhale deeply. And then as you exhale, I want you to visualize it moving down. Ready? Inhale. As it moves up your 7 primary chakras. Exhale. As it moves down. As you visualize that spark of light move up and down your center line, you are focusing your consciousness. And it's these first steps that helps you be able to meditate, is focusing your consciousness and being able to expand it. As you can wind up doing it with this exercise, you can understand that your consciousness is most definitely focused and that you are the one that is pinpointing in focusing it. Your consciousness, your awareness can be still and focused. This is called a one-pointed focus concentration. In some forms of meditation, one is asked to gaze into a candle, focusing on the flame. This exercise does still the body and the mind through focus concentration. Now, consciousness can be focused within the third dimension by being in the here and now, in this present moment. Consciousness can also be focused on the television set by watching the game or your favorite show. In many cases, even though it's not the best idea, the only way people know how to still their mind and themselves is to watch television. It is a place where one winds up focusing their mind and places their whole attention. You see, consciousness can also be expanded, just like we did in the exercise. At a certain point, there is a letting go of that spark of light, and merging it with the higher levels of consciousness. You can place your consciousness at the level of the higher self and expand it, as well as to release to become one with divine source. You can also place your attention to the ascended masters and attune to the feelings of love. Now, allow me to make it clear. Consciousness is not prana. Although consciousness does move within prana, which is energetic flow, divine energetic flow. It is awareness, and it can move through, or rather move across, multi-dimensions. It is without body, shape, or form. Your consciousness uses thought and intention to navigate. Your consciousness is that aspect of your light body that is aware of itself in the physical form. Your consciousness can also be activated to become aware of itself at the level of the higher self. Consciousness is awareness. I am aware of myself, therefore I exist. It's a mantra that you can say to yourself. I am aware of myself, therefore I exist. This awareness is different than the ego. The ego is a personality of oneself. It's your personality. So let's truly understand what the ego is. The ego is the other wrapping and includes our body and how we present ourselves in the world around us. It also includes our mind and how we are conditioned to think. The ego also holds our will to survive, and from its experience as its preferences of likes and dislikes. The ego is conscious of our personality and how we wind up identifying ourselves in the relationship to others on this planet. The ego also acknowledges itself. The ego understands that it is separate from other people. It also understands that it will die and one day will no longer exist as it does right now. The ego is tied to a temporary experience where consciousness is not. Consciousness lives on. The ego doesn't. And when we push beyond the awareness of one's ego, one winds up expanding its infinite consciousness, and one becomes available to the concept of, if I'm not my body, if I'm not my personality, then who am I? I'll say it again. If I am not my body, and if I'm not my personality, then who am I? It's your spark of light that merges into the higher states of expanded consciousness. You wind up opening doors. You see, we exist in this world, but we can also take refuge in higher frequencies during meditation where the body and the mind cannot go. It's in these higher expressions of consciousness that we can restore, we can balance, and we can renew. And when our ego comes back online, back into our body, it is ready to perform its light worker missions. So let's talk about the last component to our soul. You ready? The last component has to do with doorways, as they are no more than portals to the multi-universe. Believe it or not, our light body contains many portals to higher consciousness. Higher consciousness assumes that there are different plateaus or even channels. Each channel is like a radio station where it's at a different frequency. And as we grow in this understanding of what all that is, we can absolutely resonate at a higher frequency within our consciousness. There are 3 portals to the higher consciousness that we will wind up discussing here. So allow me to explain. First, to understand that a portal is just merely a doorway, or it's an opening to another dimension beyond our everyday reality here on Earth. And as you progress, one winds up opening doorways to new understanding. So let me tell you what the first doorway is. The first doorway is located in the 4th chakra, the heart chakra. The first step to open your heart chakra is to basically attune to love. When the heart chakra is opened, you wind up becoming aware that there is something more than yourself. You have love of who you are. You have a love for others, and you have a love for community and a love for all. It's unconditional love. It's with this expansion in the layers of the heart that it becomes open and it just blooms like a flower as your spiritual practice merges. The 4th chakra is open in many different ways. Some it's open by way of spiritual teaching. Others it's open, the heart is open through the experience of love and being in a relationship. Love is a relationship that is basically the ultimate teacher. Because when you truly love someone, we wind up suffering at their loss, no matter what type of loss is experienced, whether it's through death or through a breakup. It's because we wind up grieving, no matter what that loss is or how it's done. It's the acknowledgement of the temporary nature of life that causes us to question, what is love? And even the question, what is life after death? It's these questions that winds up opening the doors of our heart. We also have another doorway. That doorway is in the 44th chakra. And yes, we do have a 44th chakra. It's just like we have like 100 chakras within our system. And it doesn't just stop at the 7 primary chakras. Our 44th chakra is basically our higher ascended chakra, which also contains a doorway to the fifth dimension and many other dimensions for that matter. Many people wind up practicing forms of divination work and communicate with guides for spiritual purposes. And when a light worker chakra winds up clearing up to the 44th, they wind up experiencing deeper psychic awareness. It winds up opening. And spiritual and spirit guides want to assist that light worker in learning how to heal others and creating something new in the world, or even helping to heal the planet. So what exactly does it mean if a light worker winds up being cleared up to the 44th chakra? How do we even do that? Well, it means that that person has cleared their current life trauma and has like a healthy meditational practice. They have a healthy, positive emotional outlook, and they're clear of any negative energy, and they wind up attuning to the divine source. And it's at this level of clarity that the light worker winds up cleared of all childhood trauma and knows how to keep themselves clear. It's the guides that are eager to work with a light worker who had done the work to clear themselves and is ready to serve others. It's there that their psychic skills wind up becoming very strong. And when the 44th portal is open, the doorway to the fifth dimension winds up opening. One can gain access to the light realms through clairvoyant experiences and meditation. One might begin to travel in dream time, like astral projection. The messages from our spirit guides are no longer a whisper, they become stronger. Some light workers will serve as mediums and wind up assisting lost souls into crossing over to the other side. Light workers have a strong desire to assist people. And this portal allows for communication between light workers and their guiding team. So they're especially helpful when light workers wind up seeking to be readers or even energetic healers. I know quite a few beautiful souls, and some of them I work with. There are 5 doorways that light workers have access when they're cleared up all the way up to their 100th chakra. These light workers, they wind up having access to every one of those doorways, all 5 of them. Do you know what those are? Well, the first doorway is to nirvana, or rather referred to as divine bliss. It's the same of what I've been talking about throughout this whole lesson. The second doorway is the healing portal for humanity. It's where healers wind up connecting to that doorway to be able to do Reiki healing and pranic healing and being able to assist humans by being able to get them aligned and to heal them. The third doorway leads to communication to one's higher self. Remember, I talked about how we can connect to our higher self to be able to be further guided on our life path, as well as to understand the different experiences and past lives that we had traveled as a soul. The fourth doorway, it allows one to basically connect to your past life, your unconscious memories. It's basically the portal that connects you to the Akashic records. And the fifth doorway winds up opening to the astral realms and many other dimensions. The light realms, the fifth dimension, it opens up to all that. You see, the light body is essential for us to understand and to be aware of who we are by connecting to the core of who we are and how divinely connected our soul truly is. Being aware and understanding the components that wind up making up our soul, our light body, is a step towards our conscious expansion of who we are and who we shall become. It's essentially our spiritual evolution. I would like to thank every one of you for coming here and joining me on this lesson. And if you have any questions or you would like to share your thoughts on this lesson, please feel free to put that in the comments. And make sure that if you're not a subscriber and you just happen to ran into this video, please go down below and hit subscribe so you can learn many other lessons that I am looking forward to teaching. I thank you all, beautiful souls, for coming here and joining me. And until next time, blessings to you all.